Hello, my name's Paul, and I've recently read the article, What Canada Needs to Succeed in a Changing Global World. So, from this article, I pretty much have two takeaways. And the first one is going to be, how have Canadian businesses been affected by globalization? So, Canadian businesses have always been affected by globalization. Globalization has been going on for a long time. According to Daniel Muska and Glenn Hodgkins, the authors of this article, globalization has been with us in one form or another for centuries. The spice trade between Europe and Asia is an example, or the development of North America as a source of inputs and goods for European consumers. Globalization has always been about the unrelenting pursuit of competitiveness, which is producing the highest value at the lowest sustainable cost. And globalization is here to stay. Although its form is constantly changing, and with cycles in both trade and investment, recently though, globalization has been having an even greater impact on Canadian business. So according to the authors, they believe that there are three reasons why this is the case. So first, multilateral and regional action has reduced the barriers to international trade and investment. Second, firms have a greater ability today to separate the production of goods and services into global value chains and to conduct trade in inputs as well as final goods and services. And third, there are much more efficient global communications and transportation networks that expedite business around the world. This rampant globalization has three major impacts on Canadian businesses. So, firstly, competition. Globalization leads to increased competition in businesses. The competition can be related to product and services cost or price, target markets, technological adaptations, etc. When a company produces with less cost, it is able to increase its market share. So, secondly, globalization improves the technology that is available to Canadian businesses. Globalization has allowed for a significant rise in the level of technology used in today's world. Many entrepreneurial and international oriented firms have obtained the help of technology to exploit new businesses and opportunities. A good example of this would be the increased usage of e-commerce procedures in a majority of businesses. Thirdly, prices of goods fluctuate a lot more now than they did before, and this is a huge impact on Canadian businesses. Globalization has led to the fluctuation in price across the globe in various areas. Due to the increase in business firms in developed countries are forced to lower their prices for their products. A big example of this is a country like China that produces goods at a much lower cost than other countries. These low manufacturing costs might force Canadian businesses to produce products overseas in order to stay competitive. So the second point that I just want to touch on is, how has international business affected Canada's economy? As I established before, globalization has been around for a while, but it is growing now faster than ever, and that will surely have an effect on Canada's economy. So the authors, Danielle and Glenn, believe that the effect depends on how Canada reacts to globalization. If we embrace globalization could be very good for our economy. According to them, they believe the core economic policy choice for trading countries such as Canada is whether to try and resist these forces of globalization or to embrace it and take full advantage of the opportunities by consistently adapting. While addressing competitiveness and social impacts in our experience, countries that by addressing competitiveness and social impacts in our experience, countries that try to resist these forces by creating barriers to trade and investment or significantly slow the impacts of globalization have only suffered. Globalization is like gravity. It is ever present and ultimately wins. Both the authors of this article also believe that in the past Canada has done this, but recently it has been less good at globalization. Canada has been built on an international trade and investment. There's an abundant evidence that freer trade and investment is a near net creator of wealth, and Canada's benefit from globalization as a small export-driven nation could definitely help it develop on the world markets. But our policy environment over the past decades has been uneven and at times even bad. It has even affected some pockets of the business community. The Globe and Mail argues that Canada must get rid of the tariffs and embrace free trade. Political decisions might be required to overcome these vested interests. They also say Canada must expand trade with China, since Canada will soon surpass the United States as since China will soon surpass the United States as the largest economy in the world. Globalization has had many effects on Canada's economy in two main ways. Canada's economy will become more trade-based because globalization promotes trade among nations via the use of comparative advantage, and that promotes growth, which is attributed to a strong correlation between the openness to trade flows and the effect on the economic growth and economic performance. Additionally, there's a strong positive relation between capital flows and their impact on economic growth. So the second way that Canada's economy will benefit from international trade is foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment has had a positive growth effect in wealthy countries such as Canada, and it increases trade, resulting in higher growth rates. So that's all I have to say about this article. Thanks for listening.